Shift in priorities. So hello and welcome to the postgrad year. This is the Commonplace book, Commonplace binder, and I'm going to set that down. So there are 100 videos in this playlist. A Commonplace book is the standard thing, and I work on Commonplace binders. There will be 100 videos in this playlist. So if you don't find what you're looking for in this video, make sure to check out one of the other videos. So, how to declutter with a Commonplace. We are probably mostly going to be talking about school because this is the 93rd video and the next year is all about school-related stuff, and this is going to be the intersection of how Commonplacing connects with school. So, shift in priorities. When you are working on a binder rather than a book, the stuff can move around. So in the demonstration binder that I pick up every so often, I normally tell people that the main difference is my stuff can move around, so I don't add page numbers, and because I don't add page numbers, it doesn't make sense to have an index. So I use a content section and I make sure to include tabs. But yeah, shift in priorities, what's going on here? Well, it's really throwing me off because the way I set these up is normally the first one is a main point, and then the ones after that are what I think are relevant, and then the ones at the very end are the ones that I know are relevant keywords. And then, you know, that's the next video, so we'll get to that later, but we're not even close to that yet. Yeah. Shift in priorities. Maybe you've realized you have way too much stuff. Maybe you've been watching videos for way too long. This video has a ridiculously long intro, for example. And so, if the digital life is this messy, maybe the in-person life is just as messy as well. So after school, specifically high school, I had a lot of stuff that I didn't really want to get rid of, and I also didn't really want to hold on to because, you know, we were told that the school stuff is valuable because, like, why else are we showing up? And so I decided to declutter my old notebooks and, you know, binders and all that other stuff. That's why I focused on the binder stuff, because I had lots of binders. And so I wasn't in school anymore, but I still wanted to get a little bit of an education. So I figured if I wasn't in school, but I still had my school notes, maybe I could get something interesting and valuable from those school notes. And so what I did is I went through about all the information and eliminated 10% of it. And so when I would eliminate stuff, I would try to convert it into something a little bit more valuable. And I found out that a lot of the stuff was pretty bad, so I decided to try and get rid of all of it by just trimming it down. For the sake of hoarding. So maybe you're holding on to your school notes, and you might just be holding on to them because you like hoarding things. I know I did, and so I needed to get rid of this stuff. And the easiest way to get rid of the stuff was to take pictures of the physical things and then get rid of the physical things, because I would have a digital version of whatever the physical stuff was. And so I could get rid of it, but at the same time not get rid of it. Imperfect action. It's progress because there's less physical stuff, and technically to get rid of the thing, all I would need to do is push a button. But it still allows me to do whatever the negative habit is in a less negative way. Burnt out. So if you've been watching these videos, I don't know how anyone would get through all of them, because added up, I think everything is going to total around 25 hours. So if you've watched out, or if you've watched that, you're probably burnt out as well. But I have been feeling pretty burnt out recording 100 videos, because it's a lot. And so even if someone's super excited about a thing, and I haven't been totally excited about this, because there are a lot of videos I've been making which are just kind of like shots in the dark, and I'm just like, yeah, you know, you make 100 shots and one of them will hit something. But it is a little bit hard for me to give it my all when I don't really know what's going to be received, how I will want to talk about it when I'm writing this stuff out, how I will actually talk about it when I'm, you know, talking right now, or what people think of the words. So it might be you're doing some sort of repetitive action and it just feels like it's not really going anywhere. One thing that I've done in the past is watched way too many videos telling me to just do a thing rather than doing the thing. So if you need that sign, this is your sign to do the thing that everyone knows you need to do. Ridiculous. So yeah. take out the trash or do the dishwasher or, I don't know, get a snack, whatever the thing is. Practical actions. So one of the things that's really helpful is to get rid of all the extra junk. You might be able to see I have a bunch of extra stuff over here. I have way too much tape because I ordered it when it was cheaper. And so I got more than I would normally get, and it just kind of sits here. And so that's how I get a lot of my extra clutter now. It's just stuff for when I need it in the future. Which is a lot better than what I used to have, which was like a bunch of books that I never read. Do something with that energy. So after you get in the mood of decluttering everything, it might be you can convert that into another form of energy. One of my problems was I went to a school where everyone was expected to do things all the time. And so when I switched schools, nobody was doing anything. It was like how to rot. And one of the worst insults they had for people was calling them a tryhard, which was very funny because people would get insulted if they were bad at things, but also insulted if they were good at things. They just had to be exactly medium in every category, which it was a little ridiculous. But yeah, the thing I would do instead of getting good at the stuff was trying a little bit of all the things that people struggle to be good at, that people struggle to be bad at as well. And so I decided to get comfortable being bad at things. And one of the great things for that was learning languages, or at least, a little bit of the different languages. And so that way I could put energy into the things in the hopes that in the future I would go all in on one of the things. Hasn't necessarily worked, but it is a little bit better than just rotting like everybody else. Unexpected. Yeah, one of the most unexpected ways about how to declutter, or decluttering with the Commonplace in general, is realizing I'm really good at subtracting all of the bad information, and then getting a little too careless when it comes to generating new information. And so I'll collect new stuff, and I'll be like, ooh, look at this, and I just go back to the hoarding. It's really frustrating. Every time I get it under control, which is, every few years, what ends up happening is I get bored because I'm looking through all my stuff and I'm like, I've seen this before, I need something new. And then I go all in on the collection process, and it's very difficult to balance absorbing all the new stuff and also reviewing the old good stuff. Now, one way to fix this would be to go outside, touch grass, and all the other things associated with that. Unfortunately, most of those things cost substantially more money or have a higher investment level than staying inside. And yeah, it's not a risk I've been able to afford. Childhood hobbies. This is a really good one. So one of the more unexpected things that kept popping up whenever I would work on decluttering is I would focus on whatever I was looking at for a little bit, and then I'd get a little distracted. I would think about, how did I do this as a kid? How would someone do this as a kid? And so it reminded me of all the times of being outside and, like breaking twigs in half and putting rocks in places where there was water and watching the water pool up, and just little things in nature that adults normally aren't doing every single day. And those aren't really hobbies, but I'm trying very hard to mention hobbies that aren't specifically just consumption. Like, oh yeah, my hobby was watching movies. It's like, oh, okay, what else you got? It's like, my hobby is reading books. And it's like, that's great. But, again, are you taking notes on them? Are you trying to contact the author? Are you trying to make your own book? Are you reading the book for something? And people don't necessarily have to make things whenever they consume things, but it's just a little tiring seeing that so many things are only consumption. Perception shift. I do experience a little bit of a perception shift whenever I'm decluttering, because when I'm decluttering, I'm going back and I'm looking at all the old stuff. And so what you might find is you might get a whole bunch of memories back from a time that you kind of forgot. And so it might be you intentionally forgot it. It might be you just forgot, because that's what people do. Over time, everything gets lost. And so it can be very helpful to look at whatever the old notes were, because it's whatever you were focused on at that time. Digital detox. One of the absolutely fabulous things about keeping everything on paper is if you want to have a digital detox, great, everything's already on paper. Although, again, with the digital detox, you will eventually have to use a computer for something, for, maybe something medical related or tax related or just other financial related. And it's very frustrating because I don't want to look at a screen all day, every day. And I don't think most people do either. And yet, what do I end up doing? I end up looking at a screen. Drives me crazy. Now, I can make sure that the screen is bigger than the other screens are, or I can make sure the screen I'm looking at is bigger than the screens that other people are looking at. But that doesn't really help me. I'm still looking at a screen. So, I'm still a little bit lost as to what to do with this. Define the scope. Maybe my problem is I just haven't decided what I'm going to do. Maybe I haven't decided what the point is. Like, what is this? Who's it for? How does it work? How long are you going to use it for? So the scope, I guess, is lifelong. I'm going to be working on improving my information over the course of my life, regardless of if I live to 30 or 103. I'm going to be doing the thing. But what's actually in it? Well, we're going to get back to that later. Commitment device. This is a wonderful way to make a commitment to yourself and actually follow through. Because if I say I'm going to put my notes in this place, I kind of have to put my notes in that place. And if I say I'm going to go through it, I kind of have to go through it, otherwise I'm going to feel really bad about myself. And so I have had situations where I don't end up going through the stuff and then I feel terrible. And the easiest way to feel better after that is just to go through my notes. And so in some ways that makes the digital detox kind of permanent, unless something big comes up. Because, the algorithm is very helpful at getting good things in front of you, but imagine the algorithm put good things in front of you, you took notes on the good things, or you wrote down exactly what the good things were that the algorithm gave you, and then from then on, you're only taking stuff from the stuff the algorithm gave to you that you then confirmed was good, that you then sorted in a way that you would find more enjoyable. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, it'll just trap someone in. And so in some ways, people might have too much commitment. But yeah, time and room. So there isn't really a time or a place to do this. If you are going to declutter, I would definitely say to start with your room. Make sure that there's a path in between your bed and the bathroom. Because at least that way there's a place to sleep, and there's a way to get to the bathroom when you need that. So that should make it a little bit easier to sleep. Just kind of like in the same way, like, don't leave things on your bed if you're going to sleep in your bed, because then something will be in the way. Yeah. Main hobby. Unfortunately for me, this kind of soaked up most of my hobbies. Now, I couldn't really go outside because of a lot of reasons that I don't really want to talk about today. And so I had to be inside. And because I was trying to do the digital detox while I was inside, there weren't a lot of options, especially since I didn't have money for extra books, and I didn't really have a lot of resources to work with. But I did have the ability to reflect and to write and to consolidate information. So it kind of ended up being my main hobby. And that's not really the worst main hobby to have. It's a little unusual. So it's not really going to help build muscles. I mean, I could pick this up over and over again. But yeah, decades of neglect. Just like I haven't really been taking care of my muscles. I haven't really been going outside, so maybe that's why the shoulders are like this. Maybe they need to be taller. I am a little worried about that, and so I don't know what I'm going to do. I've kind of just been going through the motions, looking through my old notes. And so if you're focusing only on decluttering and you're not really adding any new information or material, it might be you just kind of go through the motions of what's already there. And so you're not necessarily neglecting yourself, but you are neglecting growth, because it's all about the past. There's nothing about the present or the future. And that is one of the things I want to work on. One of the ways that I've worked on it in the past is I would, instead of consuming media and material on my own, I would ask my friends about the media that they consume. Basically, I would just ask people what makes them the happiest and work with that. And so that was very good for a few particular things, but it was also very bad for a few things. For example, I wasn't exactly the person who was the most knowledgeable about where all of the trends were going, because I wasn't paying attention to the trends, because I wasn't consuming any of the new information. In other ways, it was actually really helpful for keeping up with the trends, because people would just tell me a little bit of whatever they were working on or looking at or experiencing. And so in that way, there were a lot fewer data points to pull from. And they were more important because it was whatever was the most important to the person. So yeah, decades of neglect when it comes to certain things. But the decluttering process is also really good for just getting rid of all the garbage. Take it seriously. Yeah, it is very easy to go to school or go to work and dress up really well, and then come home and just be like, it's pajama day every day until the end of time. And so if that happens to you, you might have to take it seriously. One of the ways that I did that was I treated my entire bedroom as my office. And so even though I didn't have employment and I didn't have work, I would basically give myself assignments to, keep up the mentality of I am working on something, I am going to get there eventually, and it's going to happen even if I have to do it on a single sheet of paper with a pencil. Liminal Space. So it might feel a little weird to be working on a thing that nobody else knows about, that takes up all your time, that does take up some resources, and doesn't have a clear benefit. Now, I don't exactly know what a liminal space is. Probably should have Googled that before starting this video. And we're going to go on to the next one. Clouded perception. Yeah, if you actually declutter everything, I don't think you're really going to have a clouded perception. Like, you're going to have only the best stuff that remains. Now, of course, like I said earlier, I removed 10% of the stuff, and then I had to go through and remove 10% again, and every time I would go back to it, it'd be harder and harder. It'd be very frustrating because there was no low-level material. It was all deep content, and that's great. At the same time, it's kind of exhausting because there's nothing to do for fun. I took it a little too seriously. How? So how do you declutter? If I haven't answered this already, the way to declutter with a Commonplace is basically grab all your old notes and just get rid of the worst stuff. Now, if you're going to do a stereotypical, well, not really a stereotypical, but a standard Commonplace book rather than a Commonplace binder, all of your stuff will be stuck in the book because it's a book, and so it's not really going to be able to move around very effectively. And one of the most effective ways for me to actually actively declutter everything was to sort everything into 26 sections that were the most relevant to whatever the information was. Or whatever the information was, I would move it into a more relevant category. And so that way, if something was from history class, for example, it might not only go into the history class category, because it would go into whatever category I thought would be the most relevant. And so that way, the information gets split up, and when it got split up, sometimes I would realize some of the information just wasn't that important when it wasn't attached to the related bits. Attic. So I think I might have actually gotten this from Megan Rhiannon. I don't really know. I have seen a few Commonplace book videos on YouTube. When the videos are more than 15 minutes, it's a little bit too long for me. So this video would be a little bit too long for me. I do watch them sometimes. If I haven't seen a channel in a long time, I'll check it out. But Attic. how to declutter with a commonplace. If your stuff is in the attic, just remember there are sometimes like bugs up there, or it's super hot, or like there can always be problems in an attic and the stuff won't store super effectively. So I would recommend not spending all the time up there. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add other than just don't have too much junk, because you won't have to declutter if you don't have clutter in the first place. So up next is notes in the margins. This is going to be probably about cluttering up the margins of your book and then taking notes on that. But we'll see. So I will see you in the next one. Thank you for being here. And yeah. Okay, bye.